So, I'm really sick in bed, and in honor of me being sick, I'm going to tell you a true story that changed the world. That is the story of penicillin.
Oh, the nerd fighters!
So, fungus and mold are really good at killing bacteria because they grow pretty slow, they don't really have skin to protect them, and they can't move. So, they're a pretty easy target for bacteria, so they had to develop different ways of fighting off bacteria. So, most molds and funguses have some sort of antibiotic properties. It all started in ancient times in Greece and India when mold was actually used as a treatment for infections. They didn't know the science behind it, they didn't even know what infections were or what bacteria was. They just thought everything was like caused by evils. And they thought the evils in mold and fungus would cancel out the evils in festering flesh, which, sounds kind of stupid, but they were on the right track at least. Kind of. In ancient Russia, they applied warm soil to wounds, and they thought that, like, some earth spirit was healing them, but really it was just the fungus in the dirt. All the way up until, like, the 16 and 1700s, mold was used in, like, apothecaries to heal infections, but nobody knowed. No, knowed? Nobody knew why it worked. It was not till the 1870s in UK did people start noticing that bacteria would not grow on culture fluids that were contaminated with mold. In 1874, it was shown that bacterial contamination of any kind was absent in cultures of Penicillium glaucum, which is pretty close to almost being there, but not quite. But we didn't really know the implications of what this meant yet. It wasn't until the following year that the bacteria Bacillus anthracis was shown to cause anthrax. It was the first time in human history that a specific bacteria was known to cause a specific disease. 2 years later, the famous Louis Pasteur, where the word pasteurized comes from, noted that anthrax cultures that were contaminated with mold would be vastly inhibited. He even went so far as to realize that Penicillium notatum was the best mold at doing this. Remember that word, Penicillium notatum. It's important. For the next 50 years, people played around with the idea of mold as an antibiotic, but they couldn't really figure out how it could be helpful to us. Most people really spent a lot of time figuring out how we could get mold to grow within our body to kill diseases, which was not the right track. It wasn't until 1928 that Alexander Fleming kind of accidentally changed the world. He'd been studying Staphylococcus, the bacteria that causes staph infections, when he noticed this kind of halo of inhibited bacteria around this bluish-green mold that had accidentally contaminated one of his experiments. He assumed that this mold must be secreting some sort of secretion that was killing the bacteria, and he was right. He made a culture of this bluish-green mold and found out that it was Penicillium notatum. He found a way to concentrate this secretion and named it penicillin. This completely changed the world. Diseases that used to have a huge death toll could now be cured with some penicillin and a couple days rest. Diseases that we used to think of as being as dangerous as modern-day cancer immediately got demoted to common cold status. Game changer. When Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin, the world population had just reached 2 billion people. It took all of human history, all of tens, hundreds of thousands of years, for there to be 2 billion people on the planet. Since then, just 90 years later, we now have over 7 billion people, and a large amount of that can be attributed to Alexander Fleming's accidental discovery that day. Finding penicillin, of which I could totally use some right now. DFTBA with the hands, I'm holding the camera, and whoever is going tomorrow, we will see you tomorrow. Hopefully you're healthy. If not, apparently you can make videos laying down in bed. That's a thing. Peace.